What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of 10 Minutes After Touchdown. I am Michael Leegan, your New York Jets beat reporter for WFUV. And as we do every week on this program, which is, of course, brought to you by WFUV Sports right here on our YouTube page, we'll be recapping, reacting to the Jets' latest home game. And we'll also be, of course, looking ahead to next week's Jets game. And unfortunately, I wish we had a better game to recap and react to than the one we just got. But unfortunately, we don't. It was an ugly, ugly week 14 game for the New York Jets as they fell to the New Orlean Saints 30-9 on Sunday. Like I said, if I had to pick one adjective to describe this game, it's ugly. Across the board, it was not good for the New York Jets at the Meadowlands this past Sunday. They fall to 3-10 on the year. And I mean, there's really nothing much else to say. This is a bad football team, and they're playing some bad football as of late. The offense was bad. Zach Wilson in particular struggled in this game, and the defense played okay in the first half, but they crumbled in the second half. They did not really step up when they needed to. And I keep saying it, I don't mean to repeat myself, but it was bad. It was ugly across the board, and I can't really describe this game in any other way. Of course, later on, as I do on every edition of this show, I'll give you some stats. I'll have some audio for you from the post-game press conferences. But first, let's dive into some of the specific game action for this Jets-Saints matchup. So this one would start off with the Saints winning the coin toss. They would defer. So the Jets would start with the ball. And on the first offensive possession, we saw a sign of things to come. The Jets would go 3 and out. Ty Johnson would drop an easy catch on second down. And on third down, Zach Wilson would overthrow Jamison Crowder. The Jets would be forced to punt. And those were the themes for the day, especially for this Jets offense. Inaccuracy for Zach and really drop passes by the receiving core and the running backs, frankly. I mentioned Ty Johnson. He was heavily relied upon in this game because Tevin Coleman was out. Michael Carter is obviously on IR right now. And also Austin Walter, it turns out, had an illness and was not able to play in this game. So the Jets were down to 2 running backs, Ty Johnson and LaMichael Pirine. And as far as the wide receiving core, no Elijah Moore, no Corey Davis. And I think that may have contributed to some of Zach's struggles today. So Zach was off all day long. I mentioned to you this, I just alluded to this. He threw a couple balls in the dirt over the course of the game, including passes that were intended for Braxton Berrios and Ryan Griffin. He just was not hitting his receivers. And I mentioned these drops, and I mentioned Ty Johnson. Well, Ty Johnson in particular was really the focal point of this quote unquote drop issue. He had 3 drops over the Jets' first 3 series, including one, which would have been a key first down, could have kept the Jets' offensive possession going. He dropped it. The Jets were forced to punt again. Just a killer. So, as I said, a theme for this day for this Jets offense, drops and inaccuracies. But let's get back on track here. So, as I mentioned, the Jets would go 3 and out on their first series. We saw some themes that would be played out throughout the day, but the Saints would get the ball, and they would manage to get a field goal on their first possession, of the game to go up 3-0 with under 7 minutes to go in the first quarter. Both teams would then proceed to trade punts until on their 4th possession of the day. Finally, they managed to get something going here in the second quarter. The Jets managed to muster a drive. They got some good starting field position, thanks in part to a 28-yard punt return from Braxton Berrios. Berrios, just one of the Jets' more solid players, catches the ball when it's thrown to him, is a good return guy, should be a Pro Bowler this year, in my opinion. Hopefully he gets there. And while they couldn't get into the end zone, they managed to put up 3 points thanks to a field goal from Eddy Pineiro. So with 10:01 to go, we were tied at 3. And I mentioned Eddy Pineiro. Well, the Jets, of course, have been struggling as of late recently to find a kicker. Eddy in this game, 3 field goals. Those were the Jets' only points. So if there's going to be a positive, at least the Jets seem to have found themselves a kicker. So the Saints would eventually respond with a touchdown later in the second quarter, a 16-yard touchdown run from Alvin Kamara in his first game action since week 9. New Orleans would take a 10-3 lead with 3:42 to go in the first half. The Jets would manage to put another field goal on the board before the half was over, and we would go into halftime with the Saints leading the Jets 10-6. So like I mentioned before, and if you watched an edition of this program before, you know I like to dive into game-specific action. Well, the second half, I don't really see a point in diving too much into specifics. It was one to forget. And frankly, if you're a Jets fan, which you probably are if you're watching this show, there's no point in breaking down the specifics of the second half. The bottom line is this. The Jets were outscored 20-3 in the third and fourth quarter. The Saints put up a couple of field goals, a couple of rushing touchdowns from Taysom Hill. The Jets offense did nothing. Probably one of, if not the Jets' worst offensive performances of the year. And once again, that would be our final score of 30-9. And in terms of some final talking points, I mentioned Zach Wilson's inaccuracies, which really killed the Jets throughout most of the game, especially in the second half when they only managed 6 points in the first half, 3 in the second half. Not very good. And that field goal came in garbage time as well. But here's some stats for you to kind of get you an idea of what we're talking about here. I mean, Zach was 19 of 42, 45% completion percentage about there, 202 yards, no touchdowns. 19 of 42, that's ugly. That's nauseating. And that points to the idea of inaccuracy and drops. Just not good from the Jets. And as far as the rushing attack, which the Jets have been relying on recently, they clearly missed Michael Carter and Tevin Coleman. They only rushed for 78 yards as a team. Again, just poor offensive performance across the board. And the Jets defense, like I said, I mean, giving up 30 points to a guy in Taysom Hill, who's frankly really only a runner, is not a good passer of the football. He had a finger injury coming into this game. I can't keep Jet fans. I'm sure I feel right now. I'm sure we all feel the same way. It's just frustrating to watch, and there's really not much else we can say. But you know what? Here's what I do want to say. Excuse me, as we kind of talk more about this game. How about Denzel Mims? With Corey Davis out for the season and Elijah Moore on IR, now is the time for the second-round pick from last year to really step up, show what he can do. Obviously, fans were clamoring for him earlier in the season, and what did he do? Well, absolutely nothing. His biggest impact was a negative one. He had 2 consecutive penalties on the Jets' final drive of the first half, one being an illegal formation penalty, which again points to this idea that Jets coaching staff feels he doesn't really know what he's doing out there. And these 2 penalties set the Jets back and essentially took them from threatening for a touchdown towards the end of the first half to having to settle for a field goal. So again, Denzel Mims, you were hoping he'd step up over this stretch with so many injuries to the wide receivers on the Jets. Doesn't seem like he's going to be doing that anytime soon. I like to try to be positive if I can. I don't really think there's much positive to take away from this game. If I'm going to say one thing and take this with a grain of salt, special teams were good today. Jets, like I said, seem to have found at least a kicker for now. Eddy Pineiro accounted for all their scoring, 3 field goals. Again, at least you don't have to worry about kicks being missed as you've had the past few weeks or for most of the season. Braden Mann had probably his best game punting since returning from a week 1 injury, a knee injury. He struggled as of late. He had a good game punting the football, though, today. And Braxton Berrios, a couple of nice returns. I mentioned I really feel he should be a Pro Bowler. But you know what? Now let's hear from Jets running back, Ty Johnson, who was, of course, at the center of some of the Jets' offensive dysfunction today. I mentioned those 3 drops that were really drive killers to start the day for the Jets. Let's hear what Ty had to say about some of the offensive woes and the role that he played in them.
We just can't shoot ourselves in the foot. We got to complete passes, and sustain drives. Like I said, 3 of those were on me. I'll take 100% accountability for them. You can't just have 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Regardless if it's me, someone else, or anything like that, we got to protect the quarterback when he gets the ball out. We got to catch it when he gets the ball out, and just keep it simple.
Well, some interesting comments there from Ty, taking some ownership and providing some insights into the team's offensive struggles. Ty also said some other strange things in his press conference. Mentioned he thinks the Saints got away with some holding. Also, in talking about his drops, he said he cooked the receivers, which I don't, own up to the drops. Don't try to say that you cooked the receivers. He cooked the corners and he beat his man and got open. Okay, just own up to the drops, Ty. I don't know if saying that you beat your man is really what the fans want to hear right now. But finally, looking ahead to next week, the Jets will be going down to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Of course, the Jets lost to the Dolphins 3 weeks ago, 24-17 at MetLife. Zach Wilson did not play in that game. It was Joe Flacco. So it'll be interesting to see what Zach can do in this game. Again, today was one of his absolute worst performances. You're going to hope that he can rebound. Of course, if we remember, Mike White was pulled out of the starting quarterback role and Joe Flacco was inserted because Robert Saleh felt that Flacco's experience would allow the Jets to do better against the Dolphins' very complicated blitz-heavy defense. Well, now you're putting Zach Wilson in there. And if Mike White, they didn't feel comfortable with him doing it, I don't really know how much better Zach's going to do. So that's something to make note of. The Jets have actually not won a game in Miami since 2014. They did win a game with Miami was the home team in 2015, but that game was a London game, so it doesn't really count. So they actually have not won a game down in Miami since 2014. We'll see what they can do next week. Well, that is going to do it for us on this edition of 10 Minutes After Touchdown. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a production of WFUV Sports.